1790, Burns penned his masterpiece. There is no other way to describe it. The greatest poem in the history of verse. It tells the tale of a man like all of us who like a pint and frequented his local more time than they should have. He also had a drinking buddy, and at his elbow, Sir Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony. Now Tam, he used to go to the market day in the town air, but would often stay out drinking to the wee small hours. His route home took him through the Mauchline Cut near Alloway, a place where the witches, warlocks would hold meetings, much like an RSN's pre-mess meeting. But this night a terrible storm had brewed, and Tam was starting to see strange things. Was it the beasts, or just too much whiskey? The plot of Tam O'Shanter, they say, is genuine folklore, or is it just a tale? I'll let you decide. I now call upon Crony Donaghy, the infamous and the famous Tam O'Shanter.
When Chapman Billies lay the street, and drouthy neighbours meet, his market days are wearing late, and folk begin to tack the gate. Well, we sit boozing in the nappy, getting foo and unca happy. We think they own the long Scots miles, the Moses, Waters, Slaps and Styles that lie between us and our hame, where sits our sulky, solemn dame, gathering her brews like a gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam O'Shanter, as he for air you nicked canter. Oh dear, when there are tune surpasses for honest men and bonny lasses. Ah, Tam, had thou but been so wise as ta'en his own wife Kate's advice, she told thee well there was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum, that fae November to October, the market day there wasna sober. The ilka milder way the miller, that sat as lang as thou had siller, for every naig was called a shoon, the smith and thee get roaring, fooling. At the Lord's house, even on Sunday, thou drank the cup and gentle Monday, who prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned and doon, or catched by warlocks in the murk, by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me greet to think how many a counsel sweet, how many lengthened sage advises the husband for the wife despises. But take a tale, ye make it nicked, Tam had get planted, uncorrect, fast by an angle, blazing finely, with reeman swats that drank divinely. And at his elbow, Sir Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony. Tam load him like a very brother. They'd been fou for weeks together. The next drave on with sangs and clatter, and aye, the ale was ground better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, through favours, secrets, sweet and precious. The suitor told his queerest stories. The landlord's laugh grew ready chorus. The storm without might rear and rustle. Tam didn't mind the storm a whistle. Care! Mad to see a man so happy, and drown himself among the nappy. His peacefully hame he leads a treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious o'er all the hills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You seize the flower, its bloom is shed. Or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever. Or like the borealis lace that flits there, can point its place. Or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. No man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches, Tam man ride. The hour of next black arch the key stain. That dreary hour he mounts his beast in, and sick a night he tacks the road in. His near-bare sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as it blew on its last. The rattling showers rose on the blast. The speedy gleams, the darkness followed. Loud, deep and long, the thunder belled. That night, a child might understand. The deal had business on his hands. Wheel mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg. Tam skerpit on through Dublin mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er an old Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent cares, lest bogles catch him unawares. By this time, he was crossed the ford, wherein the snaw the chapman smored, and past the Burke and Meikle Stain, where drunken Charlie's brackneck bane. And through the fawn and by the cairn, where hunters fun the murdered bairn, and through the fawn up in the well, where Mungo's mother hung their sail. Before him, down pours all his floods. The Dublin storms roar through the woods. The lightnings flash from pole to pole. Near him or near the thunders roll. When, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirkalloway seems in a blaze. Through Ilkabore the beams were glancing, with loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou could make us scorn? With Tiffany, with fear the evil, with Uskapay, we'll face the devil. They swats that reamed in Tammy's noddle, fair play he cared nae deal a boddle, but Maggie stood, right sair astonished, till by either heel or hand admonished, she ventured forward on the licht, and wow, Tam saw an unca sicht. Warlocks and witches in a dance, nae carty on bed new for France, but hornpipes, jigs, spies and reels, put life and metal in their heels. And one out bunker in the east, there sat old Nick, in shape a beast, a towsy type, black, grim, and large. To give him music was his church. He screwed the pipes and got them skill, to roof and rafters on the dull. And coffins stood round, and open presses, that showed the deed in their last dresses. And by some devilish cantrip sleight, each in their cold hand held a light, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the healy table a murderous banes and jibbidames, twa span lang, wee, on crescent bairns, a thief nae cutted for a rape, with his last gasp, his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks, with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars, with murder crusted, a garter, which a babe had strangled, a knife, a father's throat had mangled, be his ain son, life bereft. With the grey hairs yet stacked to the heft, with mare of horrible and awful, which even to name would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues turned inside out, with lies that seemed like beggars' clout. 3 priests' hearts, rotten, black as muck, with stinking vile in every nook. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they click it, to Ilkacal and swat and reek it, and Custer did east of the work, and linked it at him in her sack. Now Tam, oh Tam, had they been queens, oh plump and strapping in their teens, these sacks instead of creasy flinen, been snow white 1700 linen, these breeks of mine, my only pair, that yinst for plush, a good blue hair, I'd again them off my hobbies, for ye blink of the bonny birdies. But weathered belled dams, old and droll, rid with the hags would spear a fool, louping and flinging in a crummet. Wonder did they turn my stomach. But Tam Kent, wit was wit, fu brawly, Kent aye which was wench and wally. That night enlisted in the corps, long after kenned in Carrick shore, for many a beast to ditch a shot, and perished money a bonny boat, and shook both meikle corn and beer, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cutty sack, a paisley harm, that well Selassie she was worn, and long to shoot, though sorely scanty. It was her best, and she was vanity. Ah, little ken that reverend granny, that start she cost for her wee nanny with £12 Scots. 'Twas all her riches, with ever grace, a dance, a witches. But here my muse, my women cure, sick Fritz are far beyond her poor, to sing how nanny lap and flang, a supple jade she wasn't strang, and how Tam stood, like yin bewitched, and fought his very een enriched, even Saint glowered and fitched for fame, and hatched and blew with micht and main, till first a caper, sign another, Tam turned his reason all together, and rose out, wheeled in, cut his sack, and in an instant all was dark. When scarcely had he Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied, as bees bazook Wandry fight, and plundering hells a sailor bike, as open pussy's mortal foes, when pop, she starts before her nose, as eager runs the market crowd. We catch the thief, resounds aloud. Sir Maggie runs, the witches follow, with Minnie and Eldrick squeaking hollow. Atam, I'll get thy ferrin. In hell they'll rust you like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming. Kate soon will be a woeful woman. Now do thy speed the utmost, Meg, and win the keystone of the brig. A there and now they'll tail me toss, a running stream they dare na cross. But ere the keystone she could make, a fainter tail she had to shake. For Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie place and flew at Tam with furious hettle. But little was she Maggie's mettle, as spring brought off her master hail, and left behind her ain great tail. The Carlin caught up at the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now with this tale of truth shall read. Ilk man and mother's son, tak heed. When ere to drink, ye are inclined, or cutty socks run in your mind. Think, ye may buy the joys o'er dear. Remember, Tam O'Shanter's mare.
One of his final songs, which can also be recited as a poem, is Scots Wi Hae. In it, he depicts the defeat of the English in Bannockburn in 1314. This victory for the Scottish nation was led by Robert the Bruce. Again, it was not published until after his death. This, more than any other, demonstrates Burns' nationalism and his passionate support of the Scottish fight for freedom against the armies of the English crown. I now call upon Crony Inniscommons with his rendition of Scots Wi Hae. Rabbie was never blessed with great health. The weak heart, attributed to his years of toil in Mount Oliphant, had taken its toll. Crippled by heart disease, he was a dying man. Even in his deathbed, his lyrical genius did not desert him. His last poem, like his first, was a love song, All Wet There in the Cold Blast, written for young Jessie Howers, who was nursing him. Throughout his short life, Rabbie could often be found worse for wear in the back of an alehouse, much the same as a resident piper. He's been creeping about the back of the bothy, getting well oiled all night. Before it gets much later, I think it's time to welcome Crony Davy G, his own tribute to the bar. Burns died in Dumfries on the 21st of July 1796. Sadly, his lifespan totaled a mere 37 years, 5 months and 6 days. Although he died in the very depth of poverty, his genius lives on. He belongs in the same company as the true greats, Shakespeare, Dickens, Bronte. Are there greater tales than Tam O'Shanter, or a man's a man for all that? Is there a more flaming satire than John Barleycorn? Is there a greater love story than Handsome Nell? Is Auld Lang Syne not the world's national anthem? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you decide. Now, as the night draws to a close and we get ready to head back to the mess, we have to acknowledge that the Burns suppers are taking place all over the world to commemorate the birth of Burns. So how ironic is that he wrote a song that is the third most sung song in the English language. It comes close, a close third, only to Happy Birthday and For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Quite fitting, I think. RSM, Command Officer, honoured guests, fellow mess members, I invite you to join me and the cronies for our own rendition of Auld Lang Syne.